Well, when's the last time you visited a doctor?
I don't know. It's been years. So I could, my experience with doctors is the last time I was starting to see a doctor is I had low back pain. And so I wanted to get it resolved. And so I went to a doctor and they had no idea what it was. So they gave me some pills and it didn't fix it. I ended up going to a chiropractor. They had no idea what it was. They gave me adjustments. It didn't fix it. I went to a physical therapist. They had at least diagnosed it, but was giving me basic exercises and I was paying thousands of stuff that I could do in my own house. I ended up going back to the doctor. They still didn't know what to do and what to give me. They charged me a lot, gave me some pills, and just a horrible, horrible experience. Never been to a doctor since.
Was that before you were NASM certified, though?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was before I got into heavy health and fitness. So that may be a big reason why I got into it, is just I was extremely disappointed with the health system and how it was able to help me fix a problem.
Well, do you still deal with the back pain or no?
No, I've found ways around it that didn't involve paying someone a lot of money, that just involved consistency and work on my part and basically exercise. So
I guess my biggest problem with doctors is like just the conglomeration of people that have, like, the worst part is I have a lot of people in my family that are on prescription medications, and they try to get other people in my family to, like, oh, you need to go get treated, you need to go get treated, you need to go get treated. It's like, oh, you have this, you need to go get treated, you have this, you need to go get treated. And it's like, no, they don't need to go get treated. They just need to work a little harder. Like, they need to participate in life a little more.
Well, I think that goes along the lines of, they're basically telling you that there's something wrong with you and that you need to go fix what's wrong with you, which is something I firmly don't believe on. Is I believe that we are made the way we are made for reasons, and we experience what we experience for reasons, and there's nothing wrong with you. You got to accept who you are, and if you're going through something, find out, give that a purpose, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And if you're experiencing pain, obviously you want to try to find a way around that pain, but I feel like pills is not the way to do that.
I feel like a lot of pain that we experience is in our head. I think a lot of the pain that we go through in life, the majority of it is anticipation of unexpected outcomes. And so when it comes to family members that try to get other family members that will get treated. Well, that's another thing, is like you said, fix the problem. I don't believe doctors ever fix the problem. I don't think they ever fix the problem. I think they only treat the problem, which never fix it. They just keep treating it and treating it and treating it and treating it.
Well, I think that's what doctors are there for, is there to treat illnesses. And the problem is a lot of people turn to the healthcare system and turn to doctors in terms of a fix to their problems, when the doctors only are trained to treat illnesses. And so if you're experiencing these lifestyle problems that are problems due to your current lifestyle, they're going to give you a pill because that's what they're trained to do. That's who pays them most, is the big pharma. So,
well, you read a fact earlier that I thought was interesting about pharmaceutical companies funding, what was that? Most, what is it? Doctors' educations? What are the schools?
Oh yeah, the pharmaceutical companies are the biggest funder of
medical school.
The medical school, yeah. And so because they're the ones that are prescribing the pills, you got the big pharma and you got the consumer. The middleman is the doctor, and so a big pharma will try to use that doctor as their hands to get those medications in consumers.
You read another fact earlier about the 25 hours they spend on nutrition. What was that?
Well, yeah, I have it written down right here. Doctors receive less than 25 hours of nutrition training in medical school.
That's fucking crazy. technically we do more than that in the NASM certification. Like,
Yeah. Well, like I have more nutrition training than a doctor does.
which is fucking wild.
Yeah, it's insane. Well, and I think people underestimate the power of nutrition. I think it's, I mean, big. I think it was like, the food pyramid when that was made is just a big misconception of kind of what food should look like and how nutrition should be. And I think ever since then, nutrition is probably, I say it's like the second most debated topic besides politics. That's what I call nutrition. But I think people underestimate the power of good nutrition and what it can actually do for you and help you feel. One book that I love that I read was like, I think it was called How Not to Die.
Mm-hmm.
And it just talks about people not only preventing diseases, but literally reversing these incurable diseases just by fixing their diet.
Mm-hmm. I have a strong opinion on those ones, especially the whole, well, a lot of the health nuts over the, like, because I've done a lot of different diets, but the biggest one in nutrition that I've looked over for the last few weeks was carnivore diet versus like a vegetarian diet. And I think the coolest thing that I learned was the human gut biome and the pH so when you look at carnivores versus herbivores, a carnivore's gut pH is 1.0 to 3.0. And an herbivore, like a cow, deer, their gut pH is 6.0 to 7.0. And so if we're omnivore, like, where do you think we're supposed to be? If carnivore is 1 to 3 and herbivore is 6 to 7, where should an omnivore be?
Omnivore?
Yeah, where they eat both.
Well, in the middle, obviously.
That's what you'd think. But the human gut pH, where do you think it sits at?
Probably more carnivore.
It sits at a 1.5. It's literally like it is carnivore. Like, it is a carnivore gut, which is crazy. We have the same gut pH as a vulture, which is fucking wild. And we don't have the necessary structure in our gut to ferment and digest vegetables and herbs and stuff. Like, this is what's crazy is cows have an extra long gut. Like, cows and deer, they have really, really long guts. And so the hay, the grass, the vegetables, those kinds of things, they're allowed that time to ferment, and that pH, that 6 to 7, allows those things to ferment so the body can break it down and extract those nutrients. Our gut is not designed that way. Our gut is designed for meat, which, makes sense why we feel so much better. We feel so much more satiated when we consume meat. Like, we feel so much better.
Well, I think if you look at evolution, we were hunters gatherers, that's who we evolved from. We were eating a lot of meat. And so naturally, if you believe in science and evolution, you would say we should be eating meat because that's what our bloodline has done. But it just reminds me of one of the facts I was reading preparing for this today, was that you look at, and like going back kind of to the food pyramid and the misconception of nutrition is, you could go up to your doctor right now and ask him, say, I'm thinking about doing the carnivore diet, and listen to what they'll say, and it'll be pretty interesting. Is, people are saying don't eat butter, don't eat too much meat, and all these things. And what is interesting is they were pushing that narrative, and so many people believed in it. And since they started pushing that, the amount of heart disease has skyrocketed like crazy. When what's funny is they were saying it was the meat and the butter that was giving them the heart disease in the first place. And it just comes to show is like, people don't know anything about nutrition. Mm-hmm. And those experts that claim to know everything, they don't. And so it's coming to show, like, you see so many people, I think it's starting to trend now, is they're going back to this carnivore and carnivore-based diet and realizing, like, actually, this is pretty good for me. Mm-hmm. Just naturally, just misconceptions in the nutrition is crazy.
It's wild. No, it's after finding out about the gut pH, I was a little mortified because I spent some time on ChatGPT asking a bunch more questions, like what dominates our gut, like the evolution of like the gut biome in the human, in the Homo sapiens specifically. And even though when you try and ask like Google like what's the most optimal diet, it's going to try and give you like the food pyramid. And we all know that if you eat 9 to 11 servings of grain a day, you will end up obese. Like that's like besides, it's guaranteed. You eat 11 servings of grain every day, you're going to end up obese. You eat 11 servings of meat every day, that's not going to happen. Like you will burn more calories than you could possibly imagine. That's one of the coolest things is like, ever since I switched over carnivore based, I wouldn't say I'm pure carnivore based, where like I try and get the majority of my calories in and like my protein and whatnot in from meat. And then I try and leave like a little bit of like 20% space for like fruits, oatmeal, things like that. And I feel so much better. But then the days where I don't follow the carnivore diet, where I'm eating like a little more, breads, I splurge on like pizza or whatever, I feel slower. I feel sluggish. I feel like lazy. I feel tired. Whereas like when I stick to the 80-20 rule, where it's like 80% meat, 20% like fruits and various other things like butter and herbs and whatnot, I feel so much more like energized and a longer lasting energy. And I genuinely don't think that like I don't think anybody should take advice from somebody they don't want to look like or feel like. Like if you know somebody that's chronically depressed or looks like shit and they're giving you health advice, it's like the first thing you should be looking at as like, oh, do I want to like take this person's advice? And the majority of doctors that I attended growing up as a child, the majority of them look like shit. Like gut, tired, lazy dude walking in like, oh yeah, he looks like, yeah.
Well, that's something I've become pretty passionate about recently because, I mean, I'm quoting a lot of studies here, but I see so many people out there nowadays is like, oh, the literature says this, oh, the studies say this. And then you look at them and they don't set the example for whatever they're saying. So in terms of fitness and nutrition, you think if someone's claiming these things and citing these studies, they would uphold a good physique and have the energy and look well. But unfortunately, a lot of these people, they don't. When you look at your doctor, and granted, doctors are overworked a lot of times and work these long hours, and it is difficult to maintain a good physique and optimal health with a lot of what doctors do. But still, is like the guy I want to take advice from, the guy who I want to look like should look like what I want him to look like. And so if I'm taking advice from this obese, this tired, this unhealthy man, it's just like, I don't want what he has. Why should I be listening to him? It's like, oh, he received a degree in a paper telling him that he should tell me what to do, but he doesn't even do that. Mm-hmm. Why should I listen to him? And so it becomes this big misconception, and I think it's huge nowadays, especially in social media, is so many people claiming so many things. It's like, but does this person actually live that? Do they really set the example for that? Mm-hmm. And I think that's pretty huge. Is most doctors don't. Mm-hmm. They don't set that example.
I also think it's important to just look at where the money's coming from. Like, if the person you're taking health advice from, if the majority of their medical information comes from a pharmaceutical company, and you know that they receive less than 25 hours of nutritional study in medical school, like, they're wasting your time. Like, not to be disrespectful, but they're wasting your fucking time with anything health related. Like, if you want to get down to like, oh, I'm feeling depressed, doctor's not going to ask you how much sugar you're taking in. Like, I guarantee I could put thousands of dollars on this. If you walk into any doctor and say, I'm feeling depressed, they will never ask you about your sugar intake. They'll never be like, oh, well, how much sugar are you eating every day?
Well, that just goes back to what I have is less than 5% of doctors talk about fitness and diet with their patients. That's a study. So then just another thing is, if lifestyle changes are more effective than medications, why aren't they prescribed first?
Because they don't make any money off of them.
They don't make money.
They don't make any money.
What benefit do they get? The only benefit they get is actually helping that individual. And so becoming a nutrition coach and becoming a personal trainer, I become really passionate about this, is in the health industry, you got to look at the intentions of that individual who you're seeing, who's giving you that advice, who you're paying to, hopefully you'll benefit from them. A lot of them are in it. They're in it for the money. I think majority of them are in it for the money. I think secondly, the second most individuals in that profession, they're in it because they like the idea of being that person that can help people, when really that's not their intention. And then lastly, the very small percentage, it says less than 5%, I would say it falls along those lines of that study, is they're passionate about it. They actually want to help you. And so I'm not saying no doctors don't want to help you, but just the majority, and it's just like the majority of people, don't have 11 fingers. And so naturally you could say doctors don't want to help you. Doctors don't care about you, because just the vast majority of them, they don't. And they're not prescribing you these lifestyle changes. If you say you're depressed, what's the number one and sustainable pattern and deal you could do with your life? It's, what does your diet look like? What does your exercise look at? Like, how are you sleeping? How's your stress? Are you drinking enough water? Just basic questions that even me, that I don't have as much education as a doctor, can understand that those are a lot more fulfilling for your life than prescribing a pill.
It's also interesting because I think this was yesterday it was yesterday we looked this up, that America is only 4% of the world's population, yet we consume 50% of the world's pharmaceuticals, like pharmaceutical drugs. And I mean, that number speaks for itself. It's pretty self-evident. I think a lot of it, when it comes to like doctors and talking about like the 5% that actually talk about like fitness and whatnot, if they focus on fitness and nutrition, do they retain the customer in the end, or do they lose them?
Well, that's the thing. They don't.
They lose them.
They lose their customer.
So if they fix the problem, they lose the customer. So they lose the money. So it's very different than like sales. A lot of different sales positions is like you're trying to retain a customer for a long period of time. And that's pharmaceutical drugs. You're trying to retain a customer for a long period of time. And so it doesn't make sense for a doctor to like fix the problem and then lose the customer. Like they don't make any money that way.
Yeah, in terms of capitalism and everything, like that's anti-productive. I mean, I have a thing here, big pharma makes billions off your laziness. Fix your diet and they lose a customer. So they literally, it's anti-productive for them to prescribe you what you need. It's one of those kind of contradictory professions, because if I actually give you what you need, you don't need me anymore, and I don't make any more money. And so it really makes you question, like I said, you got to question the intention of that individual. You're paying them so you don't have to see them anymore. That's what you want. I mean, it's kind of like, I was talking to someone about dating apps the other day. It's like they're kind of counterproductive, because if they actually helped you find someone, then you wouldn't need their app anymore. And so if they were smart, they'd help you not find someone. And I think that's what the medical professional medical industry does, is they want you to stay in it. They want you to be unhealthy and lazy so they could retain you and be prescribed to this medication forever.
I mean, and that's the majority of medications that you get on. I'd say like 90% of them are lifetime medications. Yeah, they'll switch them around. Like, say you have like depression or whatever, the biggest like controversial statement about depression is that it's curable. Like, people don't like hearing that. That's the biggest thing. Like, no, you can't cure that. Like, that's a disease or something. Like, you're stuck with it for life. Which even then, like, diseases are curable. But you can't say that. Like, there's a lot of things, and that's what's crazy is we're regulated on these statements. We're regulated on our allowance to say like, oh, this is curable. Like, oh, cancer is curable. Like, you get in trouble for saying that, which is weird. Like, it's crazy that you can get in trouble for saying I can cure depression, but it's perfectly fine and totally okay to be like, we can treat depression for the rest of your life. Can't cure it, won't cure it, but we can treat it for the rest of your life. And I can legally say that. Like, no. Why is it so like taboo, this idea of curing depression? Why is it so like, even across all media, like across Instagram and all of these, like YouTube and whatnot, you can get in trouble for making these like bold claims? And I genuinely believe like the pharmaceutical industry has that like legal hold on all of these companies. Like, no, people can't say this. they can't say this.
Well, I think money is power, and the amount of influence pharmaceutical companies have is crazy. I mean, just the amount of money they make off of it. I mean, you look at the stats, and just about 70% of the U.S. is at least on one prescription drug. And so that's of how many people are paying. And that's just on at least one prescription. And so you think about how much money is going into this, how much power they have. And they could probably sway things how they want in terms of people talking about stuff. Who knows how much this video will get out? Just because you don't know the power they have behind these things, because we are attacking their income. If we attack their income, we attack their power. And so I mean, it's getting a lot of who knows what, but it just comes to show is just you gotta watch out. I mean, they don't have your best interest at heart. So
I think it would be wise to start basically a movement of saying you can cure these things. Yeah. Like start pushing back. Like, no, these are curable things. Your depression is curable. Your cancer is curable. Like your shit ass energy, your low testosterone is curable naturally. Like these things can be fixed naturally. And I know that it is so like taboo and controversial to say those things, but I think it's important that people get comfortable saying them, because then it creates that like possible reality for a lot more people. It's like, oh no, you can't say that. It's like, no, fuck that. Like your depression's curable. You don't need those drugs.
Well, it's like taking control of your life. And I think that's one of the biggest problems nowadays with the immediate access to whatever is people want that immediate fix. Mm-hmm. If I'm depressed, how easy it is just to go to my doctor, say I'm depressed, to get that pill, and it's going to make me feel better. It's more difficult to say, okay, I need to better my diet. I need to go exercise a little bit more. I need to sleep a little better. That's not easy, but that's the cure, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you fix those and include those in your lifestyle, not only are you going to fix your depression, but you're going to have so many other benefits. But besides that point, if you take a pill, you're going to be relying on that pill. Your body's going to see that pill as like, oh, we don't need to produce these happiness hormones anymore because you're already getting them. Mm-hmm. And so now you're completely dependent on that pill, maybe for the rest of your life. I mean, I'm sure you come back from it with tackling your health, but it's a scary rabbit hole to dive into. And I do think these things are curable. And I think the world needs to open up their eyes a little bit and change their paradigm to be thinking, I can fix these things in my life. If I'm sad, I can fix that. If I have anxiety, I can fix that. Or at least say, I will try these methods. And not only will you try those methods, but you'll try them first. It's like before going to the doctor, before spending that money and getting on that pill, like think about your health. Think about, could my nutrition be better? Could my exercise be better? I mean, those are the two biggest indicators of like longevity and free from these mental diseases, I think, are just nutrition and exercise.
I think anxiety is one thing that's really important, because one of the most overlooked things about anxiety is the fact that it's a body signal to you that you need to take action. Like anxiety and excitement are the same feeling. They're just one's negative and one's positive. They're the exact same feeling, but one of them has a negative connotation. One of them has like a positive. And both of them trigger a sense of, I need to take action. Like when a lion's chasing a gazelle, do you think it's bored? Do you think it's happy? Do you think it's like lonely? Or do you think it's excited? It's like, it's very excited when it's chasing that gazelle. When a lion hasn't eaten in 3 days, it's probably feeling anxiety. It's like, I need to take action. I need to find it. I need to find something to kill. I need to find something to hunt. And I think too often people walk through life aimlessly, and they get that sense of anxiety, that sense of like, I'm not taking action. I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm so anxious towards my life. I'm not doing anything. And they're like moving through year after year after year of their life, getting to 30 to 40. And like, my anxiety is just so bad. I have to go to a doctor to see this. And it's like, no, you're aimless. You have nothing you're pointed towards. You have energy that you want to spend on something, and you're spending it on porn, alcohol, all these other vices to try and like lower that excitement towards life, that anxiety that needs to be spent taking action. You're trying to stupor that, because they're the same thing. anxiety and excitement. Okay, excitement means you know you're almost about to get that thing, like you're about to get that thing. And then the anxiety is like, I need to take action to go get a thing. I feel like I'm not doing anything. Like, I feel like I'm doing nothing with my life. I have so much anxiety about it. It's like anxiety is the necessity to take action. And so if you have all of this anxiety, it's just a signal from your brain that you need to take action. You need to do something. You need to aim for something and start violently chasing at it, like the lion to the gazelle. And I think too many people run through their life with this anxiety, and instead of treating it with like alcohol, they go to the next drug dealer, which is the doctor, which is the person in the white coat instead of the hoodie, like you said earlier. And they're like, oh, I've got a different vice that you can utilize, and it'll reduce your anxiety every day. And they're still not fixing that problem of like something to chase with their life. And they're just falling into that like 95%, just drifting away, just expiring in real time, not doing anything.
Well, I think it goes back to like what we have established before, is how your emotions are just a currency to spend on something greater. And you could waste those, or you could spend them on something well. And I think all these negative emotions that we could feel, or negative mental illnesses that we have, I think they are a lack of that greater purpose. Mm-hmm. And what's funny is when you start tackling your exercise and nutrition, it starts giving your life purpose. As a personal trainer with all my clients that I've had, it's interesting to see their whole lives change when they start to dive into exercise and nutrition. And it's not just like, becoming a health freak. It's nothing about that. It's about they're actually finding purpose in their lives. Because when people indulge in these pleasures, in the gluttony and the lust, and all these little things and addictions, they're missing out on this big goal that they can be aiming for and achieving. They're trapping themselves. And I think that's where a lot of it leads to is depression and anxiety. And if you're stuck in that present instead of thinking about that future. And so if I started, like, let's say I started today, is like, I'm going to do a little better on my diet every day. I'm going to do a little better on my exercise. And it's funny to see because, I get clients and they come in with one goal, say, you know what, I have a shoulder pain. I just want to get that better. And, quickly we resolve that. And their mentality changes they're like, you know what? I feel like I could get bigger biceps. Or it's like, I feel like now I could get my stomach a little thinner, maybe get some abs. And their whole mentality changes, is like, I have purpose now in life. And I think that's a big part of it, is what it leads to, taking care of your health. And not only in terms of physique, but they're like, man, if I'm able to accomplish this with my own body, maybe I could write that book I was thinking about doing. So maybe I could start that business I was thinking about starting. It just builds that opportunity, saying, you know what? I have control of my life. I don't have to rely on these pills. It's like I can actually create something for myself.
I think I think the majority of people, when they feel that like anxiety, they're typically sitting at home. Maybe they're sitting in class, they're sitting at work, and they have this anxiety like they're just not doing anything. And I think this is a funny thing with the last couple of months of my life, is I've had a ton of anxiety come up, like a lot of anxiety. And I've talked to you about it, and it's something I keep expressing. And every day I say the same thing. Like, I just start freaking out just randomly. Not every day, but almost every day. And it's good though. It's a good kind of freak out. There was one day where I was laying down and I started to panic, and I was like, holy shit, I'm going to die one day. Like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. What am I doing? I got to move. I got to get up. And I was literally just laying down. It was after work. I was tired from work. I was like, I want to relax. I want to lay down. I want to I went so hard today. Like I put in 10 hours. I'm beat, man. I'm tired. And I laid down, and that anxiety hit me. It's like, holy shit, dude, you're going to die one day. Like, do something. And that anxiety hit. And it's like, what do I actually want to do? And truth be told, I really just wanted to go to the gym. Like, I really wanted to work out. I wanted that chase. And I could go to a doctor and be like, I've got all this anxiety. And this is the thing that happened, is I was laying there. I felt that like, holy shit, I'm going to die one day. And I immediately got on my joggers, my shirt, my shoes, and I headed straight to the gym. And I had a phenomenal workout. Even though I had worked 10 hours and sweat my ass off at work, I still had such a great workout. And after the workout, I felt amazing. I was like, God, yes, that felt good. I felt so good after that. It's like, it's okay. Like I can still do the thing that I love to do. And I could have been like everybody else who's like, I feel anxiety, I should probably go see a doctor. Oh, maybe I should drink. Maybe I should have a drink. It'll calm the nerves, it'll calm the nerves. Have a cigarette, like it'll calm the nerves or whatever, it'll make me ease into a little more relaxed state. But the anxiety was put there for a reason. It was like, dude, get up. You are going to die one day. Like one day you will expire. Don't waste the moments you have. Like they're a gift. Every single moment is a gift. Stop wasting it. And I've had this reoccurring because like there's so many things that I wanted to do. Like I wanted to come here and do this so bad, like so bad. It was like, I want to do more with like my best friend. Like I want to produce more. I want to create more with my best friend. Like I'm going to die one day. And if I die one day and not do these things, like fuck me, dude. Like that's not worth it. And I think that the excitement / anxiety is just that trigger, like take action, take action, take action, take action. And when you don't lean into that anxiety, into excitement, let's do the thing. Let's plan the month out. Let's do this. Like, let's make something happen. Let's go to the gym. Because you feel so much better doing it. And it gets rid of that anxiety, that like depression with the entirety of like that experience.
Yeah, I feel like going back to that currency of emotions, it's like you spend those on something well, or you literally throw them away. Mm-hmm. And I think everything in life, everything that happens to you in your, in your head or anything you're feeling, you could either try to suppress that, or you could ask the questions like, what can I use this for? A lot of people say, things happen for a reason. And I like to say things happen so you can give them a reason. Mm-hmm. If you're feeling this anxiety, you can sit back and say, you know what? What can I use this for? Or why am I feeling this? Is there something I need to change so I don't feel this? Or can I use this actually for my benefit? And I think a lot of people can use these for their benefits. I mean, whether you believe in God or you believe in science, I feel like you have to kind of believe in one or the other. I mean, both of them kind of show, like either through evolution or God's intervention, that we are made the way we are for a reason. Thousands of years has made us how we are, and we're supposed to feel these ways for reasons. Mm-hmm. And so use those for your own benefit. And going back to like, I recently put myself through an experiment that, when you feel a headache or a stomach ache, what's the natural reaction?
When I feel a stomach ache?
Well, I mean, you're probably different.
Yeah.
But the average person, what do?
I don't know.
They probably go take a pill, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to go take a Tylenol or ibuprofen. Like if I have an headache, that's just natural. And then for me, I realized that's super common. Like if I'm starting to feel a headache, I go take a pill. And what I started doing instead is if I started getting a headache, and then, you got to look into the whole side of what's causing that headache. So that's one side of it. And a lot of it is either, your diet or your exercise or whatever. But instead of going to that pill, I went for a run and it fixed it. It's pretty crazy. Or I went to do a workout and it fixed it. Even stomach aches. You think like, oh, a workout. No, I went on a run or I went to work out, gone. Mm-hmm. And it was a pretty interesting experiment because it just shows how naturally we rely on these instant fixes. When really, what are they doing to us? And what are they doing to our mentality and our productivity when we could, even I was using that pain for something greater even though I was using the something greater to fix that pain, it kind of worked vice versa. But it just shows that we rely on these medications. We rely on these doctors to fix our problems or, give us the cure. But like when really we could take things into our own hands. We don't have to rely on these doctors. We could literally just, get on the internet, look some stuff up, or everyone knows deep inside, if you look at your plate of food for dinner, you can say, yeah, I probably don't need that. I probably could get more of that. Everyone can do that. Mm-hmm. Or it's like going to the gym. It's like, I could get on a treadmill. I don't need to know it that much to get on a treadmill and walk a little bit. No, I could go walk outside. I don't need a gym membership. So everyone can take actions in their own hands and find solutions outside of these instant fixes.
I think a lot of these instant fixes even your at-home vices like alcohol and whatnot, they just numb the human experience. It's like the goal of all of the pharmaceutical drugs. The goal is to numb the human experience. And I know there's a lot out right now that they're advertising pretty hard. There's a bunch of, I'm not going to say like the drug names, but there's a lot of like injections to fix this like weight, this obesity problem. And when you're gaining weight, it's a sign you're doing something wrong. Like you're not doing something right. It's not like there's something inherently like biologically wrong with you, like from birth. No, you're consuming something. And I think this is one of the biggest things that I look at in myself is, and I say this a lot, it's like when I don't feel right or I feel off, I know something's wrong in my diet. I don't like, oh, something's just inherently wrong with me. Like if I'm feeling depressed or I'm feeling energetically slower than usual, this happens every so often. Or like I'll go hit a lift and my energy's off. Something's off. Something's not right. I'm like, what's going on? Like, what am I missing? And I immediately start going down the line. It's like, all right, how was my sleep the last few days? What's my sugar intake like? Am I drinking enough water? Have I gotten enough salt so that I can retain that water? Like, am I consuming the things? All right, where do I feel like my testosterone's at? Like, how do I feel motivated, like motivation-wise towards life? And when we look to these vices, we're immediately numbing. When we look into like the vices of like alcohol and pharmaceutical drugs, we're looking to numb that human experience of fixing the actual problem at hand instead of like taking action. And I think one of the most common and accessible vices, or I would even consider a drug, is TV, like these streaming services. It's so easy to turn one on and attempt to turn the brain off because it engages you as if it's like this play, as if you're like participating in this play. Like you can watch Harry Potter as many times as you want. And you'll still every so often be sitting at the edge of your seat like, oh, is Harry gonna, even if you've seen it 100 times, you still get into that like you're watching a new play almost, but you know what's gonna happen. And I think it takes us out of the real life experience that we're having and plays the drama in front of us so that we don't actually have to participate in life. And it's the same thing with alcohol. Like it takes everything away so you don't actually have to participate in life. And we resort to these things, especially like, you know, all of your streaming services because they're so accessible. But it's the same thing as like alcohol. If you have alcohol in the home, like it desires to be used. Same thing with like cigarettes. You have cigarettes in the home, they desire to be used. And all of these things numb the human experience so that you don't take action. Like if lions all over like the wild were drinking alcohol, they would all go extinct. Like if they're like, I don't want to chase that gazelle, I'm just going to drink some alcohol, they will go extinct. And all of these things, and I say this often, the path to pleasure is the same road to self-annihilation. It's the same road. The path to pleasure is the same road as the road to self-annihilation. It's the same thing. And when we're chasing these like simple pleasures or whatever, when you're sitting on the couch, you're not getting better. Like when you're sitting there watching TV, you're not improving. You're not like enhancing like the nutrition and your lifestyle. You're not improving your energy levels. Like you're either off or you're on. And if you're like a little dim light, which is something I really love that Andrew Tate says, is if you're just like allowing a light to be on and you're just trying to conserve energy, like you're wasting your life. And if you need to rest, fall asleep, go to bed. But when you're up, be up, show up, participate. Like don't just lounge around and waste your life. You're going to get that tinge of anxiety. You're going to get that like, fuck, I need to do something. Why do I feel like shit? Maybe I just need some sugar. Maybe I just need, I just need to, lay down and watch some TV, not really participate. And the anxiety will exacerbate every time you do that. It'll just start getting bigger and bigger. I want to do something. I want to go to the gym. I want to do something. I have this anxiety. And I genuinely believe the longer we participate in those vices, the faster we move our self-annihilation, that deterioration towards death. And I know I have a very different belief on death than a lot of people, but I truly believe that death is the acceptance that you need to just a prolonged rest. It's this like, I've done enough. I don't want to do too much. I don't want to keep going. But there are so many instances of people that marathon runners, and I mean, the grandma that I sent you, she pulled off the world record for the most push-ups. Did I send that to you? I don't know if I had sent it.
I saw, yeah.
It was crazy. Like, that is a grandma. That is an elderly woman holding the world record for the most push-ups done. Like, that's wild. That's truly chasing something. She's not chasing death. She's not allowing death to take over at all. And I mean, we've seen plenty of people, especially from our hometown, that you could argue that they died at 40 and they're 60, 70, 80 years old, and they like haven't done anything. They haven't moved anywhere. They haven't chased anything since their 40s, since their 30s, and even 20s.
It's truly saddening to see. Like, I think everyone should have a passion, and everyone should be pursuing something. And so, yeah, when I see someone that's just, they get that 9 to 5, and then they do that the rest of their lives. They don't even have really any hobbies, and they just kind of, they work that 9 to 5, and they go home, and then they'll watch their TV or scroll through their social medias, and that's their life. And it's extremely saddening to me, because I believe everyone should have something they're aiming for. I mean, that truly gives you purpose in life. And when you dive into these pleasures and stuff, you're truly numbing yourself to life and what you should be experiencing. The ups and downs in life are part of it. Without the downs, you can't have the ups, right? One thing I love about fitness is I like bulking and cutting, because it really makes me appreciate things. Like when I'm in a calorie deficit for a while, for a few months, I never appreciate food as much as I would if I wasn't. Mm-hmm. And so it just comes to show it. And it's funny because people will indulge, they have these gluttonous addictions. Well, they indulge in these foods. And when really it's not even satisfying to them anymore. It's like addictions. That first high, oh, that's nice. But then, every time after that, before long, it's just numb. Mm-hmm. And so why are you still eating all those sweets? It's like, what's going on in your head? It's interesting to think about, because people stop progressing. They just become a little dead, and they aren't alive anymore. Like you said, like they become dead at 40, mm-hmm. rather than pursuing something in their life. Like I was talking about earlier is, it's saddening to see an elderly person that hasn't had a full life. It's like if they don't have like a full family, and if they haven't like had a lot of accomplishments in their life, it's sad to me. Mm-hmm. So,
and I mean, I guess the biggest thing is just picking something. It's just deciding, and it's saying no to everything else. And I think too often we say yes. Like too often we're just like, oh yeah, sure. Like the significant other's like, oh, let's watch a movie. You're like, yeah, sure. Let's watch a movie. And I think the hardest thing to learn is to say no. And it's the one thing that humans, especially over these last few years, have just as a species, it's become so easy to say yes, to order the food, not go out. It's like, you know what? No, I need to stop trying to make this so easy. I need to go out, get those steps in, go to the grocery store, get the things to cook. And I think that path to pleasure is just that path of just saying yes to everything. It's like, oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah, sure. The donut? Oh, it's available? Yeah, sure. Like, oh, easy food. Because when you walk into these grocery stores, what's the first thing we see when we go in? Like when you're trying to check out, when you're trying to walk in, the first thing you're going to see is just, you walk down the middle of any aisle, not actually walking down the aisles, but like the intersection of aisles. The things that sit in the middle, those are the easy carbs, those are the easy sugars, those are the pancakes, the syrups, the Rice Krispie treats. Those are all the little like easy yeses. And walking through, somebody like us, where we are so fitness conscious, we've gotten into such a habit of saying no. We understand this process of no, I'm here for the thing I want. Like, no. I'm here for the thing that I need. I need to get this thing. No. And I noticed this a lot when I was younger and I had just moved out, is I lived right across the street from Jack in the Box. And that was like the easiest yes. Like, oh, I'm hungry. Do I want to go to the store? No. What do I got right here? Like, it was the easiest yes. And to say no to that thing that was so much closer than any grocery store was so difficult. It was incredibly difficult.
Well, I think it goes along the lines of that purpose, right? And so if I have a purpose, let's say I'm trying to lose weight, I'm maintaining a calorie deficit, I have a meal plan, I know exactly what I need to get in the store, right? I walk in that store, I walk right past those sweets and I get what I need to get and I get out of there. If I don't have a purpose, like I'm just eating whatever, I don't have any goal, I'm gonna walk in that store, why not get that crap? You're gonna get it. Why not go to Jack in the Box? There's nothing stopping you because you have no purpose. And so that's where you have to have a purpose. And that's where fitness and nutrition, they build it so perfectly for you because they give you a purpose. And then that purpose gives you more purpose. Like I talked earlier about how, not only is that going to stop depression, but you're going to have more energy, you're going to feel better, which is going to cause you to build more goals in life and have more successes. I think, I know one of the only true failure in life is not acting. And that tends to be a common action of most people, is inaction. They don't do anything. So I think people need to get up more, act more, fail more. I mean, that's how we learn and grow. And I don't think we see that enough.
I think the path to any success is deciding, even if you don't know if it's the right direction, is just make the decision and then say no to everything else and find out. Like, if you really want something, if you're like, you know what, like, I kind of want to write a book, say no to everything else. If you decide, okay, I want to write a book, all right, I've decided I'm going to write this book. You have to say no to TV. You have to say no to hanging out with your friends. You have to say no to the parties. You have to say no to the events. You have to say no to everything else so that you can get this thing done. Once the thing's done, you're like, all right, I did the thing. Do I like the thing? Do I like what I did? Do I want to do it again? Do I want to try again? Is this not for me? Is this for me? I liked it. Okay, I want to write another one. Then you have to say no again to everything else. And I think it just kind of reminds me of like parting the Red Sea. Is like you have to push everything else aside once you make that decision. And it's so hard because like we've all shopped hungry. We've all gone grocery shopping hungry where it's like, I don't really know what I want to eat. Let's just go to the store. And you get out and you're like, why did I buy all of this shit? I mean, you typically don't even have that thought until you get home and you start eating it. And then you start looking around and you're like, why did I buy all of this? I don't need these. Like, why did I get these? And it's because you didn't walk in, like you said, with a purpose. You didn't walk in for the thing you needed. And so it's like deciding, this is a huge thing for me, is like after the gym, there's a lot of times where I'm hungry. And it's like, all right, I'm going to decide what I want to eat before I even walk into the store. Because I know there's going to be so many things that are like, ooh, yummy, yummy. Oh, okay, yeah, I've got the money for it, I guess. Like, sure, why not? And saying no is probably, if you want to get rid of anxiety, you need to learn how to say no. You have to learn how to say no to 95 to 99% of things. If you want to get rid of anxiety, you have to learn how to decide. You have to get good at decision making, at just making decisions. They don't even have to be the right decisions. You just have to make decisions. Because like you said, like the biggest killer of any dream is inaction. You have to just make decisions. You have to make a decision and then learn how to say no to 95 to 99% of anything that comes your way. Everything that comes your way. You just have to learn how to say no to everything else. And I think that's like the quickest path to success, to any success. You want to get fit, you're going to say no to a lot of shit. And the faster you say no and the more you say no, actually I would just say the more you say no, the faster you get there. Like the more you say yes, the slower you get there, the more you prolong that process. You want a six pack? Like learn how to say no a lot. Because you're going to have to if you want to get there, depending on your time frame. You want it in 6 months? You want it in a year? Like, what's your time frame? Whatever how short that time frame is, the more you're going to have to say no to everything else. And I think that's incredibly important, is if you want to live without anxiety, learn to make decisions and learn how to say no.
Well, I mean, like you're saying, is it's a process. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a minute. And one thing, like I say to my clients that I train all the time, is slow progress is permanent progress. And I think that's something that people have a hard time understanding nowadays is it's going to be slow. But the slower it is, the more permanent it is. Like I haven't found one thing in life that does not fit that. And so when it comes to like how you feel, I think you got to ask yourself, is the fix to this that I'm looking at, is that a quick fix? Is the pill is that a long-term fix and beneficial? Is that a sustainable fix? No. What is the sustainable fix? What's the slow progress that's the slow change that's going to be a permanent change? Okay, no, I should fix my diet and my exercise. And so people are so addicted to the instant that they fail to see the end. And just like what we keep talking about, it's that end goal. You have to have that, because if you don't have that, you're gonna be like, well, what's wrong with pills? It's gonna fix it right now. I'll be happy. When really, are you? And I think looking at the science behind these medications is, if you go to anyone selling those medications, they're gonna say, yeah, take them. They're good. They work. I take them. Mm-hmm. When really, how long have they been around? Do we know the long-term effects? Do we know exactly what they're doing besides what they claim they're doing? Are they affecting a lot of other things? I know they are. Mm-hmm. Because you see these people take these medications, and not only is it suppressing that depression, but it's just suppressing their happiness. It's numbing them out. People need to look at health as the fix to anything. Have you exhausted these things first? I think that's the one thing that could fix our doctors, is exhausting the natural remedies first. Someone comes in with a problem, say, what's your exercise look like? What does your nutrition look like? What does your sleep look like? Those simple 3 questions. Like, that's it. I think that's all we need. And if they say, no, I'm optimizing my health, I'm optimizing this, and I'm optimizing that, which I doubt, I say less than 99% of people would actually be tackling all 3 of them. And if they did, they would find solutions. I think that's the fix to the healthcare system right there.
Yeah, I mean, and even we are we've been on this health and fitness trend and for almost 15 years now. I think probably 15 now. You just turned 29. Yeah, 15 years. And we still end up slaves to the immediate sometimes. There'll be times I need that sweet. And then 2 days, the next day, you're like, why do I feel slower? Oh, okay, I know why. Get back on it. Got to keep hitting it. So you don't have to be perfect with it, but you have to just participate in the process of it. And I think that's one of the things about these doctors and fixing this whole health industry and changing the health industry is, I mean, especially with doctors prescribing the quick fix, is teaching people how to say no to the things that make them temporarily happy. And these temporary happiness is I had already reiterated before, it's just that path to annihilation. And I think I think something that we need to remember is that the anxiety, the depression, the frustration, the anger, these are all guaranteed emotions in life. You're guaranteed these no matter what. You're going to have anxiety in your life. You're going to have happiness in your life. You're going to have joy. And I think the biggest misconception, or the thing that I don't like about a lot of the medical industry and people that support the medical industry and that purport these prescription drugs, is they act this depression or this anxiety, it needs to be treated and then you won't have it anymore. It's going to be gone forever, but not really. You'll still be treated and you're going to be a customer of this doctor forever. I think understanding that suffering is guaranteed is comforting. I am guaranteed to suffer. Yesterday when we were at the gym and I was talking to that guy next to me and he's like, oh, you're doing good. And I was like, man, I just want to suffer. That's all I'm here for. And he was like, what? It's that's all I'm here for. And I think because it's such a comforting idea to know that I am guaranteed these emotions. So I might as well feel them in my own space, in the way that I know is beneficial to me. It's like, I'm guaranteed to suffer in life, whether I want it to be with my weight. Do I want to suffer as an obese piece of shit looking at myself in the mirror? Or do I want to suffer in the gym? Like, I'm guaranteed either way. Either way, I'm going to suffer.
Well, it's like you got to choose your pain in life. You know, I like the philosophy is, you know, you choose your past or you choose your present or your future, right? If you choose your future, your present isn't gonna be, you know, all jolly and rainbows. You gotta work towards that future. But if you choose the present, your future is gonna suck. And so pick it. I personally don't like the word suffer. I think it has a really negative connotation. Like discomfort, I think, is a really fitting word. Is you have to choose that discomfort now a little bit if you want to have that joy in the future, and that's what's going to bring that. And I think you brought up a good point earlier. Is in terms of sustainability, I think people look at. I mean, you could look at it as two options right now. You know, if I'm depressed, I could go get that pill from my doctor. Or I become this absolute health freak where I, you know, eat my diet 100% clean and exercise for, you know, 6+ hours a week. And that's not it. You know, I think you got to look at the middle here and what's sustainable. And like eating 100% clean, I don't eat 100% clean. I consider myself like a crazy health freak. Is you have to have sustainable. You got to look at where you're at now and is like, what can I do a little bit better? You know, you don't have to go to the gym so many hours a week. I work out with my clients 3 hours a week, and the benefits are crazy, and any of them will tell you that. And so you don't need to make these crazy changes. You got to find a sustainable routine that works for you. And everyone is different. You know, some people could do more. Some people will be good with less. Everyone's diet is different. You know, some people carnivore would work great. Carnivore based would work great. Maybe other people want to go a little more keto based, and that's fine. You know, like we talked about, the most important thing is acting. You know, even if maybe you made the wrong decision, maybe carnivore diet was the worst decision you could make. I tried carnivore. I did not like it. I found carnivore based a lot better. But that's where you got to go. You got to act. You got to experiment. What works with me? What do I like? What can I do for the rest of my life that's going to make me happy? Dodge that pill and work on that, you know, sustainable lifestyle.
I think two things. A lot of people do carnivore wrong too. I've noticed a lot of people do carnivore wrong because, number one, in the carnivore diet, one of the most important things you need to understand is since you're not drinking the blood of the animal, you're not getting the salt that you need. And a lot of people miss that mark. Is since you're not going to be drinking that blood of the animal, most people aren't comfortable with that. They want to eat the meat. People are like, I'm going to go carnivore, and they just eat chicken, pork, beef.
All right, I'm not here to debate the carnivore diet, though.
Okay, I know.
I know we could disagree on a lot of nutrition stuff, but
no, I think this is important though for anybody who wants to do the carnivore diet. So anybody who even considers doing the carnivore diet, especially like I've done it for years on end. There was 2 years where I just did pure carnivore. And something that I've learned is like, you've got to get your trace minerals in. If you're not going to be eating liver, you're not going to feel good. Like you've got to either eat liver or you've got to take it in pill form because it has all of those trace minerals. It has all of those other things that you need. And a lot of people like, oh, I got to go carnivore. I'm just going to eat steak. Like you still got to get those trace minerals. There's a lot of other like minerals that you need, a lot of other like vitamins that you need. And if you're not going to be eating the liver, which is incredibly important to be getting all of those other like nutrients that you need in the carnivore diet, you need to be supplementing it. And so I think it's like dissecant liver or whatever. Me and my old roommate, we used to take it in capsule form. You gotta take like 6 of them. Because a lot of people, they try liver and like, that tastes like shit. Like me personally, I don't like the flavor of liver. I don't like the way it tastes. Some people love it. And if you love liver and you want to go carnivore, you get your liver in, eat that liver. But those are the two things when it comes to doing carnivore right. You got to eat liver, whether you take it in capsule form or you eat straight up liver, and you got to be getting your salt because if you're not going to be drinking that blood of the animal, you've got to be getting it in another way. There was another thing that you touched on earlier. Oh, suffering. And you didn't like the idea of suffering. And I think it depends on what you want because a lot of people, don't want to like.
I think suffering implies a long-term pain.
I get that.
I think that's what that word, I mean, naturally for me, I think that's what me and a lot of other people would see that as. So that's why I don't personally like the word suffering I think suffering would be more of a word to describe if you choose the now, and the future would be suffering. As in now, if you choose the future, I think the now would be more discomfort. You choose the discomfort.
I think the reason why I use suffering is because it depends on how high you want to feel. So like some people are like, oh, I would be happy with like $100,000 a year. I'd be happy with $200,000 a year. I'd be happy with $500,000 a year. And depending on the things that you want in life, whatever that decision is, you have to deal with that quality of like that amount of stress. And so when I see like my goal, it was like, what do I want? Okay, if $100,000 is this amount of stress, and $200,000 is this amount of stress, and $500,000 is this amount of stress, and $1 million is this amount of stress, it's like, all right, my goal is pretty fucking big. It's like, all right, I want to pay the price for that. What does that price look like? If my goal is fucking there, and I know a lot of people don't want that. Like a lot of people, I say like my goal, and they're like, that's a pretty fucking disgusting number. I'm like, I get it. Some people are like, I want $100,000, I want $500,000, a year. It's like, okay, you're gonna have to face some discomfort. And it's like, all right, I want $300 million a year. It's like, okay, you're gonna have to suffer, motherfucker. Like, you're gonna have to go through some pain. And so that's the reason why I use suffering, is because I see that as like, it's the same thing with health. It's like, I wanna look good, I'm gonna have to face some discomfort. I wanna look really good, or I wanna do something totally amazing. Like I wanna run 50 miles. That's not a little bit of discomfort. That is pure suffering. Like if you want to get in shape, you want to look good, there's going to be discomfort in that. There's going to be a lot of discomfort in that. You want to do an ultra marathon 100 miles, you're going to suffer. If you want that achievement of 100 miles, like you're going to suffer. You're going to pay an ultimate price for that. And I think that's the reason why I choose suffering, is because I look at like my big goal and I'm like, all right, I know the price I have to pay. So I'm going to choose to suffer. I'm going to get comfortable with that suffering.
Sure. But I mean, yeah, in a roundabout way, I mean, you have to experience that discomfort, that suffering, however you want to word it, right? There comes a time where, yeah, you have to choose. Do you want to choose your own, or do you want it just to be given to you? Do you want that depression, or do you want to just go hit the gym for a little bit? I mean, choose your pain one way or another. I think that's what it's simply said. So
you're guaranteed pain. You're definitely guaranteed pain in life, whether it's pain looking at yourself and feeling like a fat piece of shit, or pain in the gym. You're guaranteed some sort of pain. And I think that's important. I mean, suffering is guaranteed very few times in life. When people die, when you lose a loved one with a really bad breakup, those are like suffering moments. Those are like really painful moments. But on the other side of things, like in life, you're guaranteed discomfort, you're guaranteed pain in other instances. Like you're either gonna be incredibly uncomfortable looking at yourself in the mirror, or you're gonna be uncomfortable in the gym, sweating, smelling, like looking stupid, whatever. And trust me, we've all looked stupid. Like my first time in an actual commercial gym was incredibly embarrassing. And me and Kaylee were talking about it because she showed me this video of this lady who did something really awkward in the gym. And she was trying to like record a workout, and she ended up like upside down, like really embarrassing. She's like, oh, I would never go back to the gym if I did something like that. And it's like, yo, like my first few times in the gym were horrible. Were absolutely atrocious and incredibly embarrassing. Like me because we worked out at home all the time. And we did calisthenic workouts. You had those sand weight dumbbells. But my actual first moments, like my actual real first times in a commercial gym was terrible. Like it was so bad. I accidentally injured somebody, split his head open, and it was completely unintentional. Like it was just me not paying attention, not being like conscientious of what I was doing. And like there was two instances. One where like I went into the gym and I was like, I think I'm gonna bench. And I think I had told you this story. It was incredibly uncomfortable. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, oh yeah. Walk up to the bench bar and I see the other guys putting weights and they're benching. I'm like, okay, and I grab a weight and I'm not looking at the actual weight. So I put a 45 on one side. And I'm like, and I'm not even paying attention to what I'm doing. And I walk over to the other side and I put a 25 on that side. And I'm not even noticing the difference in sizes of these weights. And I'm just like, and I get down and I'm too like nervous about everybody else. And I unrack this thing and just completely like kubayash myself. And some guy runs over and picks it up and he's like, buddy, you got 2 different weights. And I immediately just run out. Like, I didn't even like, just ran. I just ran. I was just like, good God, what have I done? And I left the weight on. Like, I didn't even ran out. And I think it was the second or third time I went to the gym. I was like, I'm going to curl. Like, I'm going to curl. I want to be strong there, you know, I want to curl. And so I didn't want to look weak though. Like, I wanted to curl something big. And so I walk over to the rack and I grab 45-pound dumbbells. I was not fit enough to even unrack these dumbbells. And so like I pull them off and I'm like, oh shit, these are heavy, you know, and I'm leaning them against my pelvis as I'm like walking. I'm like trying to get to a space and they're heavy. So I'm essentially falling forward, but walking forward, trying not to like actually fall. And this guy is leaning over and I don't lose pace. Like I don't break pace. And as he's leaning over to pick something up, I completely clip him with these dumbbells, clip the side of his head. And I like move to the left. I didn't move in time. I just clip him and I start veering left and I like drop these dumbbells and I look and it's just like blood just pouring down his face. And he's like looking at me and I'm like, Jesus. And I immediately run out of the gym. Like I just dropped the weights and just run. And I sat downstairs for a minute. I was so embarrassed. I felt so stupid. And the paramedics come in. They show up to the Y. And they're rushing upstairs. And I was like, I wonder what they're going up there for. Probably that guy. But I should go see. And I walk upstairs and sure enough, he's sitting on the ground and they're like got gauze on his head. And I'm like, fuck, I can never go to the gym again. And I dip out. And like, if you think you've done embarrassing shit in the gym, like I'm still going. Like 15 years later, I'm still going. And you're gonna do some dumb shit in the gym. You're gonna do some embarrassing.
Well, yeah, you gotta accept that it's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be comfortable. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're gonna look dumb a little bit. I mean, going to the gym the first few times. I mean, even tackling your diet, like you're gonna make some crappy meals trying to get a healthier meal, and it's gonna taste like trash, and you're gonna look dumb if someone's watching you. It's fine. I mean, everyone has stories about this. I mean, I was in the gym just the other day, and I was with a friend, and we're working out. And I started talking about the manual treadmill deal because I was like, oh yeah, I was doing sprints on that the other day. And I noticed as I'm pointing over there's a guy on the bench press and he has the weight down here and he looks at me and we make eye contact as I'm pointing at him. I'm like, oh shoot, yeah, I don't want him to think I was talking about him. And just a few seconds after that, a guy runs up next to him. He's like, do you need help, bro? And the guy's like, yes, because he was failing that rep.
Oh my God.
And so the guy helps him up. That guy stands up, walks right out that door, leaves the dumbbells. I mean, the plates were kept on there, and he just walked right out the door. And I feel so bad. I'm like, I hope that guy comes back. Mm-hmm. I had no idea he was failing that set. So I mean, it just comes to show is just you're gonna fail. You're gonna be dumb. I mean, but don't expect that people are just judging you hard. Like I feel bad about that to this day about that guy, you know, and I want to go up to him and tell him my embarrassing gym stories. We all have them. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing is, like I said, the only failure is inaction. Act. Mm-hmm. And you're gonna make mistakes, but those aren't failures. You're growing, you're learning, as long as you continue and you don't fall back to the inaction. Like if that guy in that bench press, if he went home and never going to the gym again, now he's failing because he stopped acting. Although it is an embarrassing situation for him, you know, we've all been there. It's fine, dude. Who cares? We all laugh about it. Mm-hmm. Continue to act, and you'll get to where you want to get to as long as you keep working towards it.
I think Alex posted this quote the other day. The price of success. What was it? It was like the price of success is going to cost you embarrassment or something. Like you've got to be comfortable getting embarrassed if you want to be successful. And I mean, that's definitely true. I mean, I'd say my brother talks about this a lot. Like when I first started going to the gym, I failed for the first 4 years of working out. Like, I genuinely failed over and over, not knowing what the hell I was doing. And Daniel didn't do anything for his six pack. Like he just woke up one day at 12 years old and was shredded to the bone. And I was like, I want those. And I tried and tried and tried for 4 years. And he talks about it. He's like, dude, you worked so hard and they just weren't showing up for 4 solid years. And I felt so bad for you because I didn't do anything. And not to say that his abs were like strong, but like he was chiseled. And like for 4 years, I was training and training and training and training. And I would be in the gym for like 3 to 4 hours a day. Like I would work out in the gym and then I would go swim for like an hour or two and just trying and trying and trying to get there. And it was so freaking hard. And so many embarrassing stories. Like I was that kid at the YMCA gym doing sprints around that track in skinny jeans. Like I wasn't wearing like joggers or sweats or anything. I consistently wore black skinny jeans to the gym and worked out in them, and high top purple sneakers. Like looked like an absolute fucking loser. But it's like it's weird thinking about it because I know how I dressed. Like sometimes I would show up in like a button-up shirt with like skinny jeans and like purple shoes, and I would just train for 4 hours like a psychopath. And people probably looked at me and was like, what is this fucking kid loser doing here? But I consistently showed up. Like you have to keep trying. Even though like I genuinely think those 4 years was like I just failed. And in some way it's like I didn't succeed in those 4 years. I feel like those 4 years, like I gained a lot, but there was a lot of advice sent my way by people, and I'm like, oh no, oh no, 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 no. Oh no, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Oh no, 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 no. Oh no, no, no. And it's like, if I had just taken like a grain of that advice, I would have gotten my six pack a lot sooner.
Well, and I think it's not about like, getting things quickly. It's about the path you are on. And I think everything you were doing then was building the blueprint to where you are now. And I've been in exercise a long time, but I really didn't start optimizing everything and dialing in until just like this last past year. The growth I've had in the last past year is like crazy. And I could say, the 14 years before that were a waste, but they weren't. I was growing, I was building the blueprint for my life. And, to summarize, what we've been through is I think we took action. We were acting. And if we didn't take those actions, if we just, stayed at home and indulged in who knows what, gluttony or lust or, drugs or whatever it may have been, we would be on a completely different path. And I think that's, the moral of it is, pick your path. Are you going to choose the instant, or are you going to choose the long-term goal? And I think we, fortunately, chose a long-term goal, which has benefited us extremely, where we don't have to rely on our doctor for medications.
That is something I'm glad that we both ended up where we both ended up. And I think that's something we've had consistently in common over these last years is we've ended up in the same space, like pissed off at the medical industry, like genuinely just annoyed with the way nutrition and the world is going. Both of us are just like, why? Like we've been friends since 4th grade, and consistently we're just like, this needs to change. This needs to change. Like this is dumb. This medical industry, this nutrition, even the nutrition industry, a large chunk of it is really dumb, like really dumb and not based off of science, just fad diets, just workout equipment. There's a lot of things out there that's just like, what in the world are you doing? That's not doing anything for you. And it's cool to see that we've both ended up in the same space. And we've taken very different routes. And we started in the same place. We both started in calisthenics. And we were very like religious, mainly because of like Lazar and Dusan were like our early idols. It was like calisthenics is king, And then I moved into like the aesthetic world of weights, and like you stuck with calisthenics for a while. And I was like, weights, man, like holy crap. And then you got into the weight world and you were like, oh, this is a whole different like ball game. And even the separation of like, I went all the way out to Hawaii, you stayed here. We've still taken like similar paths in nutrition and fitness, though different in a lot of like our stances on like nutrition and training and whatnot. We've still come to the same conclusion that the medical industry is horseshit. Like same conclusion. We've been doing this for 15 years. Like medical industry is absolute horseshit.
Well, yeah. And I think anyone who dives into health would like truly will come to that conclusion because it's just an obvious thing. Yeah, like we were saying earlier, it's I don't know the correct wording to describe it, but they don't benefit by giving you what you need. They benefit by giving you almost what you want, but the instant fix. And so that's what's problematic about it. You know, your doctor doesn't care about your health. He just cares about giving you those prescriptions.
One of the topics that we had talked about was, I think, what was it? It was it's something about your dad bod. And I know that's like pretty normalized, the whole dad bod thing, which I think it's shameful. I think it's incredibly shameful to try and be proud of a dad bod. I think it's a shame on your bloodline, and it's a shame to your kids. And I think something that we both had seen was, I think it was about like child predators or those types of people that target children. They don't look at the mother, and they don't even look at the kid that much. The one thing they look at as an indicator if they can take the child is they look at the father. Is the father a threat? And if he's not a threat, the child is free game. And I think that's terrifying, but so true. Like, when you look at it in the wild, like if the father is not a threat, the babies are free game to be eaten. And it's the same thing in life. Like, though we don't have natural predators that are actually eating us, there are predators out there that are targeting children. And if you as a man are not a threat, or if you are not a formidable opponent, like, your children deserve, like, they deserve the best, but unfortunately, like, you will lose them. And I think at a certain age, kids see it. Like, we look at our parents and we go, you're weak. I have surpassed you. Step aside. I think at a certain age, when we notice that, it's terrifying to us. We're like, and so it sucks that there are those like people out there that target children. Like, it is an unfortunate thing, but you have to be incredibly strong. You have to be that superhero. You should aim to be that superhero for your kid. And to say like, oh, you know, the wife loves my dad bod. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Your kids will be ashamed of you one day. Your kids will look at you. And if the unfortunate event happens where your kids are taken from you and you have no ability to like protect them, like, shame on your bloodline, shame on your last name, like, shame on you for getting to that point to where somebody can look at you and go, not a threat, I can take those. Like, that's terrifying.
Well,
and
I think it goes along the lines of what we were talking about a little bit ago. Was there's two reactions to not being where essentially you want to be. One of them is denial, and one of them is acceptance. It's just, you know, if I am in crappy physical condition, you know, I could deny it and be like, oh no, I'm not. This is good condition. Or I could accept it as like, I know, I don't care, whatever. And I think that's two common reactions, when I think both are not good reactions. You should say, like, I need to fix this. I need to be better. I need to be an example to others. I need to improve my life so I don't have to rely on medications, or whatever your goal may be. Denial or acceptance is I think acceptance is a part to improve, but either or in and of themselves of not moving and acting is bad.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but yeah, that is something that I think I'm really grateful that we've stayed on this path for the last like 15 years and this is something that I've noticed. I remember when we were lifeguards and we had this coworker, she's like, oh, I could kick Adam's ass. And I was like, I couldn't kick his ass. And she was like, what? Yeah, you could. And I was like, no. And I was like, Adam is one of the most formidable people that
I never heard of this.
Huh?
I've never heard of this.
You don't remember this?
I knew about this?
Yeah, she's a blonde hair girl that we worked with. I won't say names to offend people, but
Was I in the room when this happened?
Yeah, you were washing off the deck and you had like sprayed her or something, you know, like pissed her off. Oh. She's like, oh, I could totally kick Adam's ass. And I laughed and I was like, I couldn't kick his ass. And she was like, well, yeah, you could. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, that is the one person that I'm like formidable opponent for me. I couldn't do it. And I think that's important, is like, you get to that point where like, I know that my kids, at least when they look at me, they'll look at me as a superhero. Like, And I know a lot of people, especially with, my past and the decisions that I've made, there are a lot of things that people are like, oh, I went to jail, whatever. And it's like, I don't give a shit. Like, my dad went to jail, and like, I'm not like, oh, shame on him. I'm like, oh, he had that experience. And I have an opinion about that. Like, I have an opinion on actually, as a man, like, at some point, you're going to end up behind bars at some point for a short amount of time, whether it's a long amount of time or a short amount of time. I truly believe that every man gets that experience at some point in time. Maybe you, complete opposite, you're the one standing on the other side of the bars, locking people in. But
talking about literally or metaphorically?
I think literally. Every man, when you get to the like actual manhood, like the experience of it, just, I don't know. I truly believe that every man at some point gets locked up. Either whether it's something completely stupid and bullshit or like legitimate. Mine was legitimate. Like, I got in trouble. I was being stupid. But I mean, I have friends that ended up behind bars for just overnight for dumb things that like cop assumed that they were like stoned, and they were not. Like, they never used a drug in their life, and they got locked up in a DUI. And like, no, never used a drug in my life. But they brought me in, they booked me. The people that were like there were like, you're not supposed to be here. You're not drunk, nor are you high. Get out. Had that moment, and I'm like, you passed the test. You went in. It happened. But I think it's important that kids look up to our kids, especially the fact that you and I don't have kids yet. We were not at that point. I think it's good that we've gone through this process of trying to become formidable, trying to become as strong as possible, trying to become like as educated as possible on health. So when we do have kids, their potential is maximized. Where they start from, like, I know we talk about this, like, oh, some kids start ahead, like some kids start behind. Like, in my experience, like, I feel like my parents started me pretty far behind. I think it's important that you do set your kids apart from the rest, that you do set them up to start ahead of everybody else as best as you can. Not just like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I want to do it financially. No, physically, like nutrition wise, intellectually, you should set your kids apart. They should be better. They should be faster. They should be stronger. Like, make them the apex, make them as strong as possible. And the only way you can do that is by inspiring them through your own actions. You can't be like a lot of those parents that don't do anything, like, you're going to be in the gymnastics and you're going to be the best at, doing swings. I've never done this. Or you're going to be the best at soccer, best at baseball, whatever. And you're not that epitome of whatever it is. So like we say, we're not going to take advice from some fat dudes like, oh, you need to eat this to be healthy. Like, if your kids look at you and you're this jacked giant and it's like, you need to eat healthy, they're going to be like, okay, yeah. But if, you're a fat piece of shit. Like, I had a stepdad at some point in time who was a fat piece of shit, who was shaming on everything I was doing fitness wise. And I was like, I won't take a shred of advice from you, dude. Like, you are not what I want to look like. But because I knew, I was like 14 at the time, and he was shitting on my like workouts and my health stuff. He's like, you don't need to take all those vitamins. I'm like, you don't know anything. Look at you. And I would say that bluntly to him. And I would compare him to my actual father, like the man who is shredded, the man who has done marathons, who's ran ultra marathons, who's done those things. It's like, I'm going to take advice from the guy who's done the thing, who looks the way I want to look. And still to this day, I respect my biological father is a very powerful, strong man. And it's like a formidable opponent, a formidable like creature. And I think that's something that like I am proud of. Like, I'd be terrified to go up and try and punch my dad in the face.
Well, I think we've lost that. Like, as children, yeah, I think to admire a father figure or even anyone as a child, that person has to uphold either, whether it's a physique or, either a personality that they can admire. They have to uphold one of those for that child to look up to them. If not, that child's not going to look up to them. I've experienced both of those growing up, but as we grow older, yeah, we kind of lose that. And I think in a lot of people is, it's just like, who has the education in that? And it's like, we're losing what it means to be educated. Yeah, I think we're thinking of school as education. School's not education. Education is education. And I think the highest form of education is practice and creativity. You create with what you know.
Mhm.
You know, and I think if you look at that person, if you're looking, you know, for physique goals, obviously you want that person to uphold those physique goals. You want that person to be that. If you want to look up to someone in personality goals, you want that person, you know, using those personality traits. So, and I think, yeah, a lot of times is we don't see that. You know, how many people are taking advice from people who look like physique advice from people who look like trash because, oh, I have a degree.
Mhm.
It's like, I'm not big on school, you know, I'm big on education, not necessarily school, because you don't need school for education. Education you could acquire, I mean, especially with the internet nowadays, completely on your own almost, you know, in almost any aspect of the whatever you want to go into. So, I mean, find someone who you could trust based on how they look and how they act, and look up to those guys rather than the guy with a piece of paper on his wall that says he could tell you what to do.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I would argue that I'm more literate than the majority of college graduates, and I dropped out of high school. Like, I have college graduates in my life, a lot of them, and there are some of them that I'm like, how did you even graduate? Like, and it's not to disrespect them, but I don't think that the public education system or even the college system is not teaching people anything. Like, I genuinely believe it's a waste of fucking time. Like, I got to sophomore year of high school and I'm like, I'm wasting my time. I'm here for social reasons. Like, I'm getting my social like skills out of this. And aside from that, I'm not learning anything in these classes. Like, this is a waste of my time. And I hated it. But being an autodidact in learning by myself and studying things on my own, I have learned so much more outside of school. Like, so much more just picking up the books, just picking things up and learning, putting them into practice. Does this work? Look at the people that are actually successful in these areas, looking at the best, the strongest, the fastest, the smartest, the most successful, the millionaires, the billionaires. Like, looking at these people and what are they saying? What do they study? How do their brains work? That's where you're really going to learn. The people that are ahead of the field. You're not going to learn how to make money from an economics teacher that makes 22 grand a year. Like, you can't trust him on how to understand economics and making money in the financial markets. If he's making less than 30, 40, 50, 60, I don't give a shit, $100,000. If that's not what I want, I'm not going to take advice from you. Like, if that's my teacher, I want nothing to do with you. I want nothing to do with what you're teaching me. Like, if you're going to teach me how to make money, you better be making the money that I want to make. Like, if you're going to teach me about health, you better look the way I want to look. Like, if you're going to teach me about nutrition, your skin, the way you feel, the way you present yourself every day, I want to see what I want to be. Like, that's where I'm going to take my advice from. That's where I'm going to take my education from. And I think a lot of the, like you said, the industry, they don't walk the walk. They don't emulate the stuff that they learn. They'll learn something, they regurgitate it, but it may not even be true because they haven't tested it. They haven't actually put it into action. Like, oh, this is a real thing. This actually produces this result. Like, no, yeah, you should stay off the creatine. I've heard a lot of bad things about it. I'm a doctor, so
Yeah.
it's like bullshit.
It's frightening because I think so many people just rely on things they heard. I mean, even not even doctors. I mean, I understand if maybe you're taking advice from your doctor. I mean, they're a doctor. But even people just watching things on social media and taking that as the solid truth. You know, it's crazy because I'll post a lot of things on fitness and nutrition. I get some of these comments. It's just like, where are you pulling this from? You know, where are you getting your education? You know, me, when I post something, I'm trying to actually like share useful knowledge that I found in my life. And I think you got to look at the intention of that person. I think a lot of people, they want to give you the fish because you buy the fish from them. It's like, here, buy this fish, buy this fish, buy this fish. And you have to rely on them. And not many people want to teach you how to fish because what reward is it for them? I think that's where you have to really, you got to ask questions. I doubt everything that you're told, especially in health and fitness, because it's just so, I mean, when it comes to health and fitness, it's, like I said, that it's a counterproductive career to go into because you want people to stay unhealthy so you could keep them. but there are very few that you can rely on. And if you look at their intentions, it's like, are they really trying to help me fish? I mean, teach me to fish? And I think there are very few out there, very few, unfortunately, but they do exist. And so yeah, ask questions, doubt them. You know, anything, are they giving you a pill? If it's in pill form, I would highly doubt that. But if they're talking to you and giving you advice, and yeah, okay, like maybe I'll come to this guy again now. So, and you can rely on them and they can make a little money, but ideally, like when I'm training my clients as a personal trainer, it's like, I want them to go and do what they want to do. You know, I want them to be able to create their own programs and be self-reliant. You know, money-wise, that's not beneficial for me, but that's fine. I could go on to someone else and I can help them get on that path. And that's what I like to do. And that's what I think anyone in the health industry should do. But unfortunately, it is a money-grabbing industry.
It's interesting because you're looking to essentially lose the customer. You're looking to like fix the problem, lose the customer, see them succeed.
If you're doing it right.
And that's the thing with doctors is they want to retain the customer. They want to keep the customer. And I think that's why even when I got my NASM CPT, like I didn't want to go into personal training because a lot of it is just this perpetual keep them forever. And all the guys that I've like trained, that I am the most like, the experiences that I loved, like I trained them and showed them everything I possibly could in the amount of time that I had them. Like I said, if I got you for 6 months, I'm going to give you everything I possibly can. Anything I learned, I'm just going to relay it. Anything I've used, it's great. I'm going to relay it. And I think the most successful ones, they went off and did their own thing and they're still training. They're still doing great. And it's like, thank God they don't need me anymore. And they're able to help other people. They help their little brothers. They help their friends. And that's what I want to see. I want to create that iteration of the autodidact that figures it out, everything I've done, and then they go and do better. They go and succeed more and they expand. It's like, I don't need to help them. They'll come to me and like, hey, you know, I heard this about, you know, L-arginine. What do you think? It's like, oh, this is what I know about L-arginine. And I don't charge them for that information. And it's very rare that they come back and they're like, oh, I'm wondering about, you know, fish oil. Is it really that beneficial or whatever? It's like, yeah, you know, this is what I found, but I don't have to train them every week. I don't have to retain them as that customer anymore. I don't need them anymore. They're able to do the thing. And I think that's the most important aspect of the change in the fitness industry is it's different, but seeking to lose the customer so that they become essentially another iteration or a better iteration of you. And I think that should be the ultimate goal, is to set them up to be exactly like you or better. Like set them up with all of the information you have and then set them free.
Yeah, I think the goal of the healthcare industry should be a pool of clients that you retain. Well, I mean, that you don't necessarily want to retain, right? Because you want to rotate them out. I think that should be, I mean, in any profession. I mean, whether you're, you know, a massage therapist, chiropractor, personal trainer, doctor, I think the goal should be, I want to get them in. If they stay with me for a little bit, that's fine. But ideally, I want to get them out. I want to move on to someone else and help someone else. And I think that's hard to do because you have to keep on recruiting new clientele. But I think that's the best way to do it because you essentially teach them what they need to be doing and get them out of there. And I mean, granted, in terms of like chiropractor, massage therapists, I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. But I mean, look at it. It's like, are they trying to retain you if you're paying them? Are they trying to retain you? Are you giving them money? What are you actually getting out of it? Are you going to be able to fix these things on your own? Are you becoming dependent on them? Are you being manipulated? You know, are you actually sick? Or are you just someone's client?
Damn.
So
I think we should leave it at that. Are you actually sick or are you just somebody's client?
Yeah, someone's customer.
Damn, that's intense. Well, I think we hit the nail on the head with that one. Well, I think it's time to hit the gym.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, dog. That concludes episode, I don't know, 30-something. 30-something. We'll find out. See you guys next.